where they hit and threw them off the truck.
There is,
Apparently, they want, whatever they delivered to in Shawnee Hills, they were there a while at the bar. Kind of side
Yeah, they were
story.
just coming too fast down Dublin Road.
I will let you guys look at this one. This is the contracts for 1937 that the township signed with the Dublin Volunteer Fire Department. And that goes along with the organizational minutes.
You forget about it. So frustrating when you can't do anything with your hands.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry to hear that.
I couldn't open a hose nozzle if I had to. Well, those are in pretty darn good shape.
I don't know where they got stored or how, but I
Well,
know.
they should have been with township minutes is where they should have been, I would think. Henry Miller, president. I don't know which Miller that was to you.
Yeah,
Well, Miller I can think of as Keith Miller's day.
well, Clarence,
Oh, that's right.
but, he would have been, Perry Township.
George Galbraith.
That came from John Brown.
Oh, yeah, that's when we was doing what I was telling you about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just found this one.
Well, be darned.
Oh, there's,
Patches,
yeah,
you did save the house. Part of it is. See where it went up in the attic.
there's your $2,600.
Was that the hearse? Was that the first one?
No, that was the third one.
Third one?
They had a Packard at the front end was long as the back end because it had a straight 12 cylinder.
First one was exactly like you said, it was hers.
Okay.
Yeah, there was no Packard, and then they bought the Cadillac, and then some of us argued to get that. And George Byers on West Mountain Street built that out there. They had one guy building it. Took forever. But the first two, one went to Columbus and one we got.
See, here's.
And there was so much
here's,
more room in it, we thought we was doing great. I mean, and that didn't even compare to the boxes.
Here's Washington Township.
Frank Bauer.
See, Ben Black became secretary of the fire department, but this would be the township trustees, Bauer, Eckert, and I don't know which Leopard that is. Maybe Marvin Leopard's dead.
Harold Driver.
And Harold was
I
clerk
didn't
of
realize
the
that.
township.
So,
I know one thing. As far as I know, I was the only one to be both fire chief and marshal in Dublin.
and Marshall?
Yeah, he
I
said.
wasn't at the same time.
He said if Dublin ever came up with a service, not a service director, but a safety director.
I should get it, 'cause I've been both of them.
He'd be the one for the job.
That's funny.
Bill Troy.
Is that Margie?
No, this is Bill Troy and Johnny just taking one from the old Metacopter.
Oh,
That's a great picture. I'd never seen that. Bob Chapman. Oh, he was a nurse, an army. He was an army medic.
oh,
That rode with us a lot.
So, like I said, when I get into more of this, and I haven't even had a chance to look at it all yet, but I would love to keep
Oh, yeah.
playing this game. So this appears to be the Ford sales and service.
I'll be done. Look how good a shape that is. American Fire Apparatus, that's,
Yeah, let me find the sales. So that's your actual pamphlet. How much do you figure the first 1941 Ford front mount pumper cost?
about $700.
$1,780. And that is your actual sales contract, it appears.
American Fire. Of course, they built the GMC too. Sutphen sold both of them. Well, the GMC was paid for by civil defense.
Was it?
Federal, a lot of them in the county at that time. Federal government paid 50, the county paid 25, the townships paid 25%.
So in your book, we have We have the 37 Rio, the 41 Ford, and then
53. GMC.
53 was the next one we got.
And the next one was that,
And everything else is in your book.
yeah, the something
Yeah,
custom.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Was the,
I ordered a federal Q siren on it because it's much better than the rest. And while I was suspended, they hadn't got it delivered yet. They went ahead and ordered another one for Perry Township, but they took the federal Q off of it and put a electronic one on it so they could warn the people in Worthington Hills there was a tornado coming. I said, I'm not gonna send equipment out when that's happening. We're gonna be where we are in case we have to go someplace.
Yeah.
But that was the whole thing behind it, so people in Worthington Hills could be warned.
And if you're ever willing to speak on any of that, I'm willing to hear it too. I don't want to pry into that, but
Oh, I'd be glad to tell you some stories.
well, at some point I'd be all.
I don't know if they should be recorded or not, but,
Like I said, you'd be surprised how well I can edit.
well, the one that got me, because I worked on the committee to get to get the numbering system in. And then I started the automatic response by going to hit Worthington, Hilliard, Plain City, and ended up in Marysville eventually. And talked to them, and everybody thought it was such a great idea, but when I went to Upper Arlington, that's when they told me that, well, our trustees told me not to go there at all. I thought, oh my God. People dying and they don't go there. And I forget what the hell I started to say. Oh, automatic responses, yeah. Well, they didn't want me doing it, especially didn't want me to go to Columbus. And I said, well, we got a deal with Don Scottfield that if we need a helicopter, they'll furnish us one as long as we'll respond over there. Don't want you going. It's in Columbus now. So I come up with the idea. I says, we have an automobile accident on the west part of the 161 Sawmill Road interchange. And the car ends up in the northeast corner in Columbus. What am I supposed to do? And they said, leave him lay. I didn't go over very well. In fact, I said, like hell I will.
who was that?
And
Was that John?
said that?
Yeah. Wasn't Lorenzo?
I'm not sure. Because both of them was real set against it.
Lorenzo was?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. None of them
Now,
wanted to go. I'll make
Clarita wasn't there anymore?
Oh, the drunk on Skyline was their clerk. The one
Yeah,
that took
Barbara
our
Diamond.
mailbox- The one that took our mailbox out.
Barbara Diamond, she's the one who took my place.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think who, it was Jim, John, and Lorenzo.
Yeah.
And Washington Township was Ted,
Burner, no, not Burner, Burn left.
Yeah.
Larry Everhart and Doc Walker.
Doc Walker.
And he was one of the ones strongest against me doing anything. He still thought I was that 10-year-old kid that fell on the ice at his pond when I was ice skating out there.
Yeah.
That was, he still looked at me as I was that little kid around town.
And Ted wasn't.
Ted wasn't there until the very end of it because he was off with that Freedom Train.
Oh, okay.
But still, there was always a chance for one trustee to have stopped it. If there was only two of those trustees there. None of them did. Al thought when Ted came back it would stop, but it didn't.
That's what I remember. And I didn't mean to get into that while we were on.
No, it's actually more for my knowledge than anything. I'm just.
One of the charges was I refused to take a run. And everybody looked at that and said, what? God, you ran 24 hours a day, all week. And what happened was we'd gone to Muirfield on one of the early tournaments and called them out of service. So I said, send squad 2, anything we get. And called up there and tried to get us to take a run. And I couldn't remember. And there was a auxiliary police officer from Perry Township, lived in Grove City and eventually became a state representative. He came up to me and says, I was there. He said, I was talking to you at the time and you had a lady in the back with a heart attack. they blew that one all to hell. Basically, when one of their officers came out and said it. Had a limp. Remember his name?
Oh, was he attorney?
No. Not that I know of. I know he's auxiliary police officer for Perry.
Well, I would love to ask you one more series of questions, and it spawns from this this picture.
Oh, that's International Rescue and Emergency Care Competition.
Explain to me what that is, why we got into it, and
Got into it because of me. When I was on Columbus, they had a team. And I remember they went to Montreal or Toronto or something. And some of the rest of us says, well, we'd like to compete. He says, well, and they just started the state competition at that time. And of course, international had been going on because they had it here in Columbus in the late 50s. So we got 4 guys together, and we went to state competition and beat out the other team. So we got to go to international. That was in Baltimore, Maryland. And before we went, the one guy decided he didn't want to practice anymore. He dropped out. So
This is Columbus.
I suggested grabbing a guy off of the other team that I knew would do good for us because he worked opposite me on the shift down there at Old Levens, 1000 East Main Street. It's a nice place to be stationed. And we went, and so it was the first year 3 of us had competed, and we took first place. And that was in 68, I think. And so when I come to Dublin in 71, the next year or 2, I got a team up. I got them interested in it. I was still going to the conferences because I was on the board of directors, eventually became president. But I got a team up, and John Brown, Bob Casual immediately wanted to do it. And we hunted and hunted and hunted, asked everybody, asked at meetings, asked individually to get a 4th guy, and finally got one at the last minute, practically. So he didn't do much at the competition and went to first team from Dublin, we won. And then we kept going to conferences, and a bunch of them got jealous because we was going on these trips. That was part of it behind going after me. But yet we asked and asked and asked to get other people to go. And then the 4th guy we picked up, he dropped off, and we had to take another one the next year and things. But the 3 of us was in it from the start.
that's cool.
Yeah.
I have,
I was at 1000 East Main Street in front of Old Elevens, and the squad had moved us to 8s in, because I worked a summer on Near East Side, 3 years as transfer. So I'd been there the first year. And the black riots broke out at Parsons in Maine. We were sitting there watching them. We ran in there all night. Wouldn't use sirens because it didn't want to stir things up. And the fire companies were in task force. They closed 11s, moved them to 8s, so they had a ladder and 2 engines, and National Guard riding on the equipment. And we went in the same area without anybody. Now you think you don't get close to police. When you pull up with just run red lights, no siren, and there's 3 cars behind you, and when you get out, you hear click, 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 click as they loading their shotguns. They follow us wherever we picked them up. They saw us and followed us in. And then at the campus riots, we were on Neal Avenue. Used to go straight through campus, and we were at the south gate.
And it was open. You could drive through.
Right. And at gates there that they had closed, the instigators.
It was a fancy entry gate.
Yeah. And as we pulled up, we'd just been at the University Hospital, we pulled up, was going back to station, we sitting at the intersection, here comes about 25, 30 highway patrolmen, marching, and they had their soft hats on because they didn't want to show force. And as soon as they started to open the gates, bottles and rocks came from everywhere. And there wasn't bottles and rocks laying around Ohio State's campus then. And so we called in to get them help. And they told us that we had to get out of the area, and we went almost to the station, sent us back to take care of a couple highway patrolmen. And then we just happened to be in the area after that, that when we walked across campus, And I was walking up street with the squad supervisor and near the safety director. And they called and told us, they said they want us to go back station, get out of there. And I looked at the safety director and says, don't you need squad to back up these police officers? He said, I sure do. How about 2 of you? Pissed off the fire chief because they asked for help from the fire department, wouldn't give it to them. Wouldn't give them any hoses, and right after that, they got us.
That was
A run down on near one of the frat houses, and they started stealing stuff off the apparatus and fighting with them and everything else. So they called for police help. I said, delay it. They didn't help you earlier. Yeah, it's 2-way street. They put a sergeant on board with us off of their, they call it D unit. They
that was-
overlapped the 2nd unit and the 3rd unit, so they worked.
that was their,
SWAT team, if you want to call it
yeah,
that. But
it
they
really
were
was.
roughiest, roundest guys you wanted, and the sergeant was riding with us in the squad. So the police helped us out there.
So I just wanted to show you this real quick. That is apparently all of your scorecards and practice problems from the
Yep.
EMS
That's what we used old ones to practice with.
And I haven't looked through it,
Pat Stuber.
but there is
Staley, he was a prick.
a ton of them in here.
Got them all from Bob Casual, didn't you?
Uh-huh.
Mine burned up, that's why I know. You got them.
I don't know what this is.
Oh, that's Studer again. Because see, we copy them and use them for practice.
Sure, it looks that
And we
way.
traded them between Columbus and Arlington and Newark and us. We would trade. And then Franklin Township got a team, so Prairie.
Okay.
We would trade any copies we had, copy them and trade them, so we had more problems to work ahead of time to know what they're going to ask for you.
Gotcha. Well, I've got nothing else until I dig through more things to learn. What I would like to show you though is we have a just a real small
Excuse me.
picture case in the other room, and it's got old camera in it and a photo album. Just might be fun to look at if you're interested. Other than that, if there's anything else you want to cover?
We had a wreck on Sawmill, and Bud Sanford, Willings' chief, was there with their rescue, and we had the Medicare. And between Bud and I, we put on 3 half-ring Thomas splits that night. So when it came to using Thomas splits in that competition, we were darn good at it, I'll tell you, because you practice and practice and practice. But I doubt if that's ever happened since,
Yeah.
on one run,
I doubt it.
because everybody wanted the easy ones.
You,